Okay, so good lighting is important when creating an architectural rendering. So once you have the basics down for setting up global lighting and adding source lighting to your model, you may be interested in a few tips for editing that lighting to make sure it highlights the building. I'm going to go to the visualization workflow and open the Light Manager. There is always an active light setup, but you can also save different setups. For instance, here I have a setup for different times of day. I'm going to start with the afternoon setup, and I will start on the Brightness tab. Display brightness affects the view as it is seen on the screen. The global illumination brightness is what actually affects the brightness of the view rendering. I generally start with the sliders at a sort of mid-range. Brightness can be adjusted after the view is rendered, so you can't really go too wrong here. The Solar tab is where you set the location, the north direction, date, and time of day. You will need to have a display style with shadows to see the effects of the solar settings on the view. On the Details tab, you can set the color or temperature. Physically Based will automatically set it based on the date and time. Shadows can be turned on. For an exterior rendering, I like a soft median, but keep in mind softer shadows mean more render time. Cloudiness and air quality will affect the intensity of the sun or the lux, which might then affect the darkness of the shadows, depending on the other lighting in the model. Let's switch to the morning setup. Now, ambient lighting and flash bulb are similar in that they add light to surfaces and do not cast shadows. So if a face of the building was not getting any sun, like the coffee shop here, this would help light it up. We can see that the coffee house is in shadow and rather dark without the added flashbulb lighting. We can also see how increasing the cloudiness actually increases the amount of light on the building surfaces and lightens the shadows as if it was an overcast day with a lot of bounced light. We can also change the color or temperature of the scene with some warmer morning light. Now let's switch to the evening setup. I do have a little solar lighting, but this is a case where some source lighting will add to the scene. Some light fixtures with lights have already been placed in the referenced model. The lights can be turned on and off here, even though they are actually in the referenced model. However, their settings need to be adjusted in the model where they were placed, but it can be done by activating the reference from this file. These lights are inside the station and coffee house. We will add some exterior sconces in a moment. The light sources are difficult to see here because we need to balance the source light with the intensity of the sun. You can see if I turn off the solar lighting, I can see the interior lights. You may need to reduce the intensity of the solar light to bring out the source lighting. But keep in mind, you can also do this after processing the rendering, so we will take a look at that later. Now, here's my tip on source lighting. I like to create a cell library of light fixtures. Add the light source to the cell so that I can place the fixture in my building model and have the source lighting placed with it. So let's go take a look at that library. This is the industrial light that I have already placed in the model interiors, and it has a point light source as part of the cell, with settings already defined in the Light Manager. These could be adjusted even after the cell is placed. Now we'll take a look at a sconce fixture for the exterior of the building. This cell actually has two spotlight sources, one directed upwards and one downwards. And again, I can preset temperature and lumens for the light source. Now let's add these light sources to the coffee house model. I will place these as a regular cell. It is important that they are not a shared cell. If you want data group data on this fixture, it can be added after the cell is placed. And we can do the same in the station model. Now let's go back to our master render model. Now, with a little adjustment to the solar lighting and the flash bulb, I can make the sconce light sources really highlight some of the building elements and give a nice evening scene.
If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.